Well, let's talk now to Jim Holder, the distinguished automotive industry expert. Jim, good to see you. Well, the figures are pretty stark. Foreign companies, VW, Toyota, will have less than 50% of China's car market in the first time in years. Why? Why have we seen such a decline in these sales from these huge brands?
I think it's very clear that the Chinese car makers have been under the auspices of the Chinese authorities planning for this transition for decades. They saw their opportunity in electrification to leapfrog the established players. They had tried and failed with combustion engines to get a hold not only in their home market but also their markets abroad. What they saw was this opportunity coming, and they invested heavily, they invested early, they have the raw materials, they have access to what they need in order to succeed in this market. And now, not only are they succeeding at home, they are starting to launch their plans to launch abroad. And we're seeing that here in Europe, particularly with, as you say, BYD.
I mean, it's not just giving the established brands a run for their money. They're overtaking. I mean, Chinese car manufacturers like BYD really are about to overtake the sales of foreign brands.
Absolutely. By volume, they're set to become the world's largest electric car maker this year, overtaking Tesla. They are producing very high-quality product at a very competitive price. I think there is a fear among the established brands that the electric car is becoming homogenized. There is less ways of differentiating yourself if you go beyond the brand itself. And I think that's where they're staring into the abyss and having this existential crisis. The market is open at the moment for these Chinese car makers. We have seen some moves in America in particular to try and stimulate investment in electric vehicles from homegrown manufacturing. But at the moment, China has the advantage, and we are leaving the door open for them to come and take all that they can out of the market as a result.
Well, Volkswagen's boardroom sounds a rather uncomfortable place to be at the moment. I mean, what do these foreign car manufacturers need to do to regain popularity in the Chinese market?
I think they need to move fast. They can't rely on brand alone anymore. For decades, they have scooped massive profits in China by being able to sell off the qualities of Western brands. But they're now perceived as having moved too slowly into the age of electrification. There are also other advantages in China around the tech that you can get in your vehicles. And they need to respond. They need not to rest on their laurels. They need to be able to justify the price premiums that they typically charge. And if they really want to hold on to the mass market ground that they have traditionally had as their own, they need to move quickly, because this once-in-a-generation shift is already well underway.
Let's just look at the race between BYD and Tesla. I mean, BYD now surpassing Tesla in the production of EVs, boosting output by, I think it's 211% in 2022. I mean, is this something that those foreign firms should simply be threatened by? Is it all over? Are these two monoliths of brands going to win it?
I think it's too early to call, but what I would say is that what we need to understand is BYD's profit margins. Now, they can afford perhaps to be accumulative as they gain market share and as they establish their brand quality. But it is a big leap from volume to profitability, and that is one of the journeys that the Western car makers have been on these last few years. Those profits, of course, drive the R&D investment of the future, and that can be cyclical as a result of who's winning and who's losing. But I think you underestimate the likes of BYD, other Chinese car makers at your peril. They have this growing dominance in their home market, and that's where you typically drive the profits that you can invest to then take on a global assault of different markets.
Jim, good to see you. Thanks for coming on the programme again, the motor industry expert Jim Holder.